So there was a young boy who grew up in church. His parents brought him every single week. He grew up knowing all of the Bible stories. He knew about the fall of man and Adam and Eve. He knew about Joseph and a coat of many colors. He knew about the Exodus. And he knew the 10 Commandments, which is where we find ourselves today. Commandment number 3. But one of the things that he was not prepared for is as he sat there, he heard somebody break a commandment from the front of the stage. As the song leader walked towards the podium and stood there, had the congregation stand up, the young boy was second row, piano side. Some of you know what that means. Second row, piano side, and out of nowhere, this song leader says these words, "Oh Lord my God." The 8-year-old was absolutely shocked. That is in violation of commandment number 3. However, the song leader continued by saying, "When I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made." Who in here knows that song? One of the great hymns, "How Great Thou Art." One of the great hymns of the church that we sing. But for that boy who had been scolded the week before for using the words, "Oh my God," in a sentence, he knew that that was breaking commandment number 3. So today, for those of you who have kids, for those of you, your kids might hear something and they might ask you some questions. So pay attention and you'll know how to answer them. But as we dive into commandment number 3 today, I want to challenge our thoughts and our perceptions of what this might actually mean. It's found in Exodus chapter 20, verse 7, and the words are up on the screen. It says, "You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name." Different versions say things like use God's name in vain. Don't misuse. Thou shalt not take the Lord your God's name in vain. So what does this actually mean? Well, in order to start, I wanted us to play a game today. All right? You guys like games? Give a round of applause if you like games. Okay, I'm glad you did that because this is a participation game that requires your participation. So whatever anybody else does around you, I want you to be able to participate. Sound good? Can we agree on that? Good. So in order to start this game, we're going to start at the training level. And your objective is to determine innocent or guilt upon this commandment. Are you ready? Go ahead and clap. Let's practice once. Go ahead and clap. Are you ready? You guys are good. All right, I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to ask you to clap depending on what you agree on. So here we go. Let's begin. Johnny swears to God. Clap if you think Johnny's in violation of commandment number 3 right now. Okay, a few of you waited to somebody else clap. Clap if you don't believe Johnny is in violation of commandment number 3 right now. A lot of hesitation. Okay, we're not sure. I'm not trying to trick you in the answers here, but it appears that he is in violation had a slightly louder clap, all right? So a few more of you agreed that you think he probably was in violation of the commandment versus not in violation. Disclaimer, I need to make a public apology at this point, and I want to apologize to my 3rd grade teacher who had us diagram sentences in 3rd grade. And I told her that I would never use this outside the classroom. And so today, I am using it outside the classroom, so I need to issue an apology to my mother, who was my 3rd grade teacher. We're going to diagram this sentence, this command, into 3 different parts. We're going to diagram it into the subject, who it's about, who the sentence is about, the action or the predicate, and the object, the person or thing involved in the action, all right? So I've lost some of you guys already. I know school's not back in session yet, but we're gonna work through this. Are you ready? So, in the commandment, you have you, subject, must not misuse the action, the name of the Lord your God, object. Pretty simple. So if we go back to our friend Johnny, Johnny swears to God. We have subject, same thing. Johnny swears, action to God, object. What is happening here? Now, from the information collected here, we don't have enough information to know if he's actually misusing the name, right? What constitutes misuse? So what we need to do is we need to add something to this. We need to add the motive. Now, if you're paying attention, I want to encourage you, we're going to go through these all together. We're going to clap, we're going to participate, but we're going to have fun playing this game. Sound good? No one said yes. All right, but we are going to have fun, I promise. So because our training level is complete, give yourselves a round of applause. Doesn't it feel good when you get to level up? That's right. So let's jump into level 1, where our objective is to determine if value is added to the object by the action. If what the action is doing is adding value to the object. So we turn to Johnny. Johnny says, "Oh my God," when his alarm clock goes off at 6:45 a.m. as scheduled. So in this sentence, we have the subject, Johnny. We have the action, says, "Oh my God," object. Now we know the motive. His alarm clock goes off. A mundane thing occurs, and now we have to decide, is the mundane thing that occurs, why is he using God's name in this case? Our goal is to determine if value is being added to God's name here. Some of you might clap and say, yes, value is being added. Some of you might clap and say, no, value is not being added here. Johnny's definitely in violation of the command. Well, a help that we can use is to insert something else, because many of us grew up with parents or grandparents telling us that we're not allowed to say the words, "Oh my God." So no matter what use we use it in, it is an improper use of God's name. But what happens if we replace "oh my God" with the word sauerkraut? Johnny says, "Oh, sauerkraut," when his alarm goes off at 6:45 a.m. as scheduled. Is that adding value to sauerkraut? Probably, because sauerkraut is terrible. Nobody likes it. And so anything that it can be brought up into a sentence is adding value to it. But what about words? What about God's name in this case? A mundane action or a mundane thing occurs, and Johnny uses the name. The result, referring to the object, has no real purpose. The sentence would be the exact same. Let's just assume that there's no net value added, but there's also no negative connotation either. Nothing happens when he's using God's name. Johnny's not alone in this. Maxine says, "I hope to God they don't cancel my favorite show." Sam exclaims, "Jesus Christ, I can't believe it," upon discovery he just won $2,500 on a scratcher that his Aunt Ruth got him for Christmas. Ashley tells her neighbors about the godforsaken mice in her house. Each and every single one of these uses, and many more, are all attributing net zero or negative uses for God's name. As we look through all of these scenarios, none of these are actually adding value. They're not lifting up, they're not praising anything about the name of God, because all of the sentences would be the exact same without the object. Is the object having value? Are you adding value to the object is one of the questions that we're asking here. The result, not adding value to God's name by meaninglessness or equating it as worthless equals misuse. If you're not adding value to God's name, therefore it's misuse. So congratulations, give yourselves a round of applause. You've just completed level 1. Some of you aren't as excited as others. Doesn't it feel good to level up? So we're going to go ahead and level up to level 2, where our objective is to determine if proper motive was used in invoking the object. Proper motive used when invoking the object? See what Johnny has to say this time. Johnny swears to God the dog ate his homework when he knows the dog did not eat his homework, to avoid the punishment from his teacher. Clap if you believe Johnny is in violation of commandment number 3. Okay? Clap if you believe Johnny is not in violation of commandment number 3. Okay, we still got some there. No one wants to be that person. I get that. So what we have here is we have the option of, most of you agree that Johnny would be in violation of commandment number 3 here. He is misusing it. He is misusing God's name for selfish motives. Why did Johnny invoke God's name in this lie? To make his lie more believable. If he just said, the dog ate my homework, it wouldn't be as believable as, I swear to God, the dog ate my homework. What he's doing is he's adding credibility, using the object, using the name of God to his lie for self-gain, for self-preservation, for self-motive. He's misusing God's name for his motive. But again, Johnny's not alone in this. Sarah invokes God's will in her breakup with Ben because she doesn't want him to know she has found somebody else. Ouch. Terry uses the full name of Jesus and Jesus' mother after a pitch was called a strike to demonstrate his anger. Wesley swears upon everything that is holy. He doesn't know how the scratches got on his parents' new car, even though he was the one who hit the shopping cart in the parking lot. All of these things come out to a verbal collateral. You're using the object here, in this case, Jesus' name, as verbal collateral for self-gain. When we use God's name, when we use anything as collateral, lifting up a lie, equating it as worthless, equating it for our own gain, what we end up doing is we end up counting that as misuse. So the result looks something like this: using God as collateral to convey emotion, lies, or self-gain, selfishly, that equals misuse. Therefore, in violation of commandment number 3. Congratulations, you just completed level 2. We're going to level up. Give yourselves a round of applause. So we level up to level 3, where the game is the same, but the objective changes yet again. Your job is to determine if the action mirrors the object's likeness. Does the action taken mirror the object's likeness? Let's play. Johnny wears a love your neighbor shirt while actively hating his neighbor. Go ahead and clap if you think Johnny is in violation of commandment number 3. Go ahead and clap if you think Johnny is not in violation of commandment number 3. Everyone's stumped. We don't know what to say because it's not something that we have typically grown up with, whether it's right or wrong. But what is your objective? Your objective is to determine if the action taken aligns with the object's likeness. So Johnny, wearing a Love Your Neighbor t-shirt, he's taking upon the likeness of Jesus, who said, love your neighbor, while not loving his neighbor. He's assuming the likeness of who God is, his image, to conveying something that the object, in this case, God, would not convey. Johnny's not alone here. Kim requests prayer for her pastor to share a disagreement with her small group. Bob claims affiliation with the church before fudging the account numbers. Karen states, I'm a Christian, therefore, she votes for insert political party here. See, in each and every single one of these things, the name of God, the presence of God, the likeness of God is used to add value to one's own opinion. You see, God gave Moses these commands, and when God gave Moses these commands, before that, he had given Moses his name to free his people. Who should I say sent me? I am sent you. The name of God was given to Moses as a part of his presence, as a part of himself, as his very likeness. You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God includes the verbal actions that we've taken or that we talked about in the first 2 levels. Both of those, the first two levels we talked about, they were verbal uses of the name of our God. This one is more convoluted because the action taken isn't something spoken. The action taken is an action taken. It's done by the way we act. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves, following the logic of the subject, of the action, of the object, and the motive, what is the motive here? Are we taking the likeness of who God is and changing it for our own purposes? Because when the action equals the likeness of the object, you need to take in the object's motives. If your motive and the motive of the object after you take the likeness don't align, that equals misuse. Result, to use God to justify our motive is to plagiarize his likeness, therefore misuse his name. So congratulations, you've completed level number 3. Give yourselves a round of applause. This idea of plagiarizing the name, when it says do not misuse or do not take the Lord God's name in vain, the Hebrew word there is very, very similar to the English word we have, which is plagiarize, to take the work or an idea or likeness of someone else to pass it off as your own. I don't know about you, but I love Krispy Kreme donuts. They're quite amazing. The hot lights on and they just melt in your mouth. It's something completely satisfying. And if you've never had one, you need to go have one. I'm not a representative of Krispy Kreme. That'll become clear in a moment. But what would happen if I were to go to Krispy Kreme and get a box of donuts, and I would eat all of the donuts, and I would make some version of my own terrible donuts, because I'm not very good at making donuts, and put them in there and try to pass them off as Krispy Kreme donuts? I open the box and you look at it and you be, that is not Krispy Kreme donuts. You see it immediately, but I convince you that it is, and you try one, and you are not able to take the taste of the Krispy Kreme donut because I am the one who made it, and I am not good at making donuts. I'm using their likeness. I'm using the box. You wouldn't have ate it if it wouldn't have been in the Krispy Kreme box. You wouldn't have had the confidence behind what you were eating if it wouldn't have been in the Krispy Kreme box. I'm using their name, I'm using their likeness, I'm using their brand to get you to do something that I want. Now, am I misrepresenting Krispy Kreme? Yes. To everyone I come in contact with and try to have them eat one of my donuts in a Krispy Kreme box, I am misrepresenting Krispy Kreme. I degrade Krispy Kreme's worthlessness. I spread lies about their brand that they've worked time and time for decades to perfect. That way, when you open that box, you know exactly what to expect. I try to pass off my actions as their actions. I try to pass off my work as their work. All of this would equate misuse of Krispy Kreme's name. Now, I'm going to stop talking about Krispy Kreme because my mouth is starting to water a little bit just thinking about it. But I wonder what actually would take place if we take this to the logical conclusion. Because would you think any less of Krispy Kreme after I did that? After I tried to have you eat something that wasn't from Krispy Kreme, just in their box. No, you wouldn't think less of Krispy Kreme, you would think less of me. I'm the one who's trying to lie to you. I'm the one who's trying to use Krispy Kreme to get my own way. And my relationship with you now becomes broken because what I'm trying to do is pass something else off as this. Krispy Kreme never entered into agreement with me. Krispy Kreme never said, okay, you're going to be an officially licensed person. Because if I wanted to start a store and use Krispy Kreme to sell their donuts in a 7-Eleven or Walmart or a Kroger, I about said Kmart. There's no Kmarts anymore. But if I wanted to use Krispy Kreme's name, I would have to pay upwards to $1 million to be able to use their likeness, to be able to use their brand to pass it off. And then I would be responsible for the things that I do if I use it incorrectly. So what happens whenever we have broken down the sentence, and we've broken down 3 of the 4 parts. One of the parts that we did not break down yet was the subject. And in the commandment, the subject says this: you must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Who is he talking to here? God is giving the command to Moses to give that command to his people. He's not giving it for the world to say, hey, nobody ever use my name because it is really powerful and I don't want Johnny to get the words right and the incantation right and just be able to cause havoc in his own will upon the earth. No, that's not what he was trying to do. His goal wasn't to protect his name from everybody. His goal was to protect his people. This commandment is not about God's protection. It's about the protection of his people. Whenever we go out who've accepted the terms and conditions of what God has done for us, except we call ourselves his people, we call ourselves Christians, we've accepted what he's done, we take the box of donuts and we eat the dozen donuts, and then we go out and try to counterfeit something that we have enjoyed the pleasure of for the rest of humanity. God's hope was not that his name would be sacred, although that is a part of it. The misuse of his name is his likeness. His name is holy. His name is worthy. His name shouldn't be marked as worthless or equated with nothingness or to support lies, selfish motives, or gains. But it's more than just the word. It's his image. It's his likeness of who he is. We don't casually stick his name on our own thoughts or ideas or products or words or actions and expect other people in the world to see a difference in God's people. 1 Peter 2:9 says this: but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. That is our job, to go out into the world and spread his light, not equate it with nothingness, not equate it as the world did with their gods as a way to get what you want. As a people who have entered into a relationship with Jesus Christ, it is our job to go out into the world taking his likeness upon ourselves to where our words and our actions mirror his own. As a father of 3 kids, a lot of times whenever I'm giving the rules to my kids, I give them in the negative, as many of the commandments are. But I try every once in a while to flip it around and give it in the positive. Because the negative command would sound like this: boys, if you don't clean your room, you're not getting to play the Nintendo Switch. So every once in a while, I flip around and try to say the positive of it. Boys, if you clean your room, you will be able to play the Nintendo Switch. It works wonders. So what is God actually trying to say here? What is this command, the negative side of this command? Don't misuse the name of the Lord your God. I think it might look something like this: my people, use every opportunity to act in my likeness for the good of the world. If we can engage in God's likeness, honoring his name, honoring his image, honoring who he is and what he's done for us, it's something that the world is going to see is different for each of us. I'm going to go ahead and have the band come back up, and we're going to worship as we close out the service today. But what would that look like in your life? If not just the words that came out of your mouth were what Grandma and Grandpa said, you're not allowed to say those words. It wasn't just about the syllables that came out, but our heart was mirrored with that of Christ.